about Gatso,
They're either.
trying to get the final bill.
About Gatso.
And where's Craig?
Steve, Janet.
Huh?
Craig Steinberg.
Craig is here. The chief is
Oh,
here.
he's over there.
Todd is there. Steve
Oh.
is there. I
Oh.
decided I'd come over.
Maybe we should just move the whole council meeting over there and be quicker.
Okay.
Ah, here she comes, Jan. Deep breath. Wait for everybody to get here. We're not in a rush.
Thank you, Jean.
When I give them a little spiel, I'll hand it to you, copy.
Did you bring a copy over to the week?
I don't have enough.
I think I left them there.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Oh.
Get it resolved.
I hope so.
You're right.
A lot of months.
What's it?
Oh,
We are ready?
Did Jean say you're ready?
What?
Jean say yeah?
Oh, I don't know. Oh. Coming back, so well, wait a minute.
I don't have my phone. Can you call her? Oh, she'll probably just run it anyway.
Well, she went to get. She carry her phone with her?
Online. The YouTube setup.
Is that? Oh, Phil. Now it's ringing. So, is this on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We're going to call the December 19th council meeting for the Village of Gates Mills to order. Roll call.
Anton,
Here.
Allworder,
Here.
Deacon,
Present?
Press, Steinbrink,
Here.
Turner. Yes. Walsh.
Here.
Thank you. First thing, it's not on your agenda, but Sandra, you want to speak about your card?
Some of you may know that our postal clerk, Paula Knock, passed away earlier this month. It was unexpected. She's a mom, a wife, a grandmother, great grandmother. We all know her as someone that's very kind and calm and a lover of pets. I spoke to her husband and extended our sympathy. And I do have a card here, so I just wanted to pass it around and ask you to sign it or add a comment, and we'll mail it. Next year, I'd like to talk with you about a recognition for her, perhaps a tree at the post office, but that's something we probably wouldn't do until the spring. So thank you. The second thing, Mayor, is that Mayor Brenda Bodnar is here to see you. Brenda,
see
would you
that.
come up?
Brenda, you're not on the agenda.
Yeah, so thanks, Sandra, thanks to all.
Brenda's the Mayfield Village Mayor.
And I'm not tall, so can y'all hear me okay? Okay. So thank you, and thanks to all of you to let me be on the floor of council. It is my privilege to be here tonight to thank Mayor Schneider and recognize you for all that you've done over the last 8 years. First of all, Karen, I want to thank you for your friendship over the last 8 years. When we both started as fledgling mayors 8 years ago, I had no experience in municipal government or any government at all. And Karen, you had lots of experience in municipal government, so you took me under your wing and you showed me the ropes. Together, we learned how to be mayors of neighboring villages, and along the way, we became good friends. So I got to know you, I get to know Stan, I get to know your wonderful family, and it is a friendship that I've treasured, and I look forward to continuing in the future. So I want to thank you for that. Secondly, I want to thank you for your leadership here in Gates Mills. I have learned that when you want to get something accomplished, it gets done. So through your very positive and tenacious brand of leadership, I have seen you take an already wonderful community and improve on it and make it better. I've learned much from your brand of leadership, and I appreciate that. So thank you for that. And finally, I want to thank you and your council for your collaborations and partnerships with Mayfield Village over the last 8 years. We have worked together on many occasions. We've consulted with each other. We've learned how to find solutions that benefited both of our communities. So I appreciate that. I look forward to continuing that with Mayor-elect Szymborski when he takes office in January. So Karen, for your leadership, for your partnership, and mostly for your friendship, I would like to present you with the keys to Mayfield Village.
Oh,
And this is
cute. Thank you.
very, very special.
I will.
That is you.
Thank you.
You are always welcome in Mayfield Village. You are always a friend of mine.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Good job.
Thank you. Very nice. Okay, now that I'm out of order here. Cool, huh? Okay, next on the agenda is minutes from the regular council meeting of November 21st.
Karen, I know you have a correction.
Yes. I do have a correction under page 3, under mayor's report, introduced Dan Kish. He's giving the house and the property to the village and the contents of the house to the Historical Society so he can protect his antiques and whatnot. And I called and clarified it with him today.
We will fix that.
Any other, well, we need a motion and a second or corrections.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Oh,
Allward.
wait a minute.
So I just
Sorry.
wanted to ask, and maybe that the right question is for Todd. So Karen, you'd mentioned including some emails in the minutes, but then when I went back and looked at the emails,
Okay, so that was an email from David
okay,
that was sent out. And I think I made the mistake of saying it should be included in the minutes because it was not spoken about the whole email in the minutes. So,
yeah, I guess that was my question, Todd, is that it wasn't a record of the proceeding. So is it the type of thing that should be in the minutes? Or
My understanding.
should it be handled?
My recollection was that the email came in after the October meeting. So how could it be part of the October minutes? However, it was discussed in November, so it could be part of the November minutes. Certainly up to the council and as a whole to include it or not in the November minutes, because
So-
that's when it was discussed,
Okay,
as I recall.
okay, so in November, except I don't think we discussed it. I don't think we discussed the content at all.
I thought it was mentioned
was
and asked
mentioned,
to
but
be
not
made
discussed.
part of them.
Yeah, it was not discussed.
so you could vote to include it or not include it as council. That would be my suggestion
As part of the November minutes.
as part of the November minutes.
Okay, well, I would move to amend the November minutes to remove that email.
Okay, we need a second.
I'll second.
Anton,
No,
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes,
Press.
No.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
No.
It passes.
4-3.
Thank you.
Any other corrections or whatnot with the minutes? Okay, then roll call. As amended.
She did that.
I did that.
Okay.
No,
No. That was just for the amendment.
That was.
That was just
That-
for the amendment.
Not for the minutes.
That was for the
Now,
not.
you're
voted-
removing to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. Eton,
Yes.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Next is pay ordinance 1280 for $766,758.50.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Eton, whoop,
A question, if I may.
Read
The,
the motion.
Press and Steinbrink.
may I ask a question? BVM Enterprises, $7,200. That was the consultant we used for the council workshop on the comprehensive plan. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Beth?
Eton,
Yes.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, next is financial report. Treasurer, Steve?
Good evening, everyone. The financial report for the 11 months ended November 30th of 2023 has been posted to the website. The financial statements were provided to the mayor, the clerk, and council prior to the December council meeting. We've had some good developments in the last month since we've met. Importantly, our municipal income tax revenues increased to the level beyond Rita's latest estimate. The culvert costs at Mayfield Road are substantially less than we had forecasted. We'll be talking about an appropriation and approval for that tonight. The traffic camera revenue continued to come in well in the month of November. All of those things were fortunate to go our way, if you will, in the month of November. The general fund revenue for the month was $564,000. It consisted of $251,000 of community income tax, $243,000 of gross traffic camera receipts, and $70,000 of other revenue. For real estate taxes, our receipts are dependent on the nature of those tax due dates and payments by the property owners and the county's remittance to us. The 11 months of 23, our real estate tax receipts are $2,488,000. That is $52,000 favorable to the prior year and to the budget. Our municipal income tax revenue was $251,000 in November. We have been reporting for several months that our receipts in 23 will be below those in 22. For the 11 months in 23, our income tax revenue of $1,010,000 is below the 22 amount by $950,000. As you know, we didn't forecast that full amount in our budget. We forecasted $2,006,000 in our budget, so the shortfall is significantly less. We have conferred with Rita over expectations throughout 2023. The latest projection was $1,976,000. That amount has been surpassed in November with collections of $250,000. So, and on top of that, in the months of December, we've collected $185,000. So our likely 23 income will be $2,300,000, which is roughly $300,000 short of our budget, $2,006,000. Much better than we had been looking at earlier in the year. In November, the village did receive the second collection and the third collection from the traffic camera enforcement program. As you know, the gross collections appear in the revenue category while the expenses appear within the police expenditure department. In November, the village received $243,000, remitted $42,000 to Lyndhurst. We are working with GATSO for a partial invoice for October, November. We are for the first time applying the contractual terms to some of the reports that we have been getting through the system. And there are some different interpretations on one or two of the items. So we did not make that payment in October or November. We will, though, make a payment in December. The amount will be somewhere about $125,000 to $140,000. That amount is being discussed among Janet, myself, Craig, and the law director, and the police chief, of course. Other sources of revenue for the year are favorable to the prior year due to higher receipts in most categories. The village has received higher rental income from the cell tower, from the Mills Building rental, and our interest on investments. Expenditures for the month were $409,000 for our operations. Normally, our monthly operating costs are $450,000 to $500,000. As I just said, we didn't have a bill in there for GATSO in the month of November, which is why that would have been lower. For the 11 months of 23, our expenditures were $5,893,000 compared to $5,500,000 last year. Excluding the transfers that go to the general fund, our expenditures, cash expenditures were $4,961,000 and $4,443,000 in 22, an increase of roughly $500,000 or 11%. The departmental costs are of no surprise. The police department is on budget in 23, except for the Mayfield, Lyndhurst, and the Lyndhurst court costs and the GATSO costs. In the fire department, as we've seen all year, we've spent greater amounts on personnel costs and on ambulance and EMS runs. The additional volume of fire calls required our fire department personnel has risen 30% this year, including a record 42 calls in the month of July. EMS calls are up about 20%, and our costs there are now at 447 compared to 354,000. These are the same numbers last month as well. We're not expecting any additional invoices from Mayfield Village this year as they invoice to us on a quarterly basis. So for the first 11 months of the year, the village operated with a general fund shortfall of approximately $172,000. That was $72,000 recorded as statements and likely $100,000 owed to GATSO for invoices that we haven't received. We had budgeted for a break-even year of about $19,000. So our results are a little lower than we budgeted a year ago due to A, lower income tax receipts, B, higher fire and EMS costs due to greater volumes, and C, startup costs for the traffic program. It is possible we'll end the year at a shortfall of several $100,000 rather than break even. It's the same disclosure I've made to you for the last 3 months. The general fund cash balance at the end of November was $7,700,000 compared to the beginning of the year of $7,800,000. Other funds beyond the general fund, the village maintains special purpose funds required by contract or statute. Cash in these special purpose funds amounted to $2,036,000. During the month, we distributed $340,000 from the capital improvement fund for the 22 roads program. We also have in the other funds some amounts in the water fund, the ARPA fund, and the conservancy fund, which account for a meaningful amount of that $2 million. The water fund, we've asked the law director to see whether some of the work that we need to do with respect to our fire hydrants can be used through the water fund funds. The ARPA funds are pretty much dedicated to the Mayfield Road culvert, as well as having a little bit left over now that the culvert costs are down. And the conservancy funds is our share of the proceeds that the Gates Mills Land Conservancy previously received this year, all the money that they were due to get. So the report's published on the website. I'm happy to answer some comments. I would say, Mayor, before we finish up tonight, there are 2 things that we're working on that you know about that I wanted just to update council on during the other business matter. These are things that I'll be bringing to council in January for some discussion. Didn't want you to be surprised about those. One deals with the tennis courts and the pickleball courts and the cost there. And the second is an operating plan that I'm trying to put together with the Land Conservancy folks to make sure that we are working forward in kind of a combined plan on the expenditures of their funds and our funds. All of that would require council discussion and comment, but it is some work that we've been working on for the last several weeks. Any questions on the financials, Michael? Steve, one question. I think we talked at our last meeting or the meeting before about it appears that interest rates are peaking. I think now you could say that with even greater confidence than you could a couple of months ago. Has Ancora altered the investment strategy in any way to take advantage of the view that interest rates have peaked and are probably more likely to go down than up from here? There's nothing maturing imminently, so they are following the same guidance that they have been following and the latitude that they have. They understand that we would like them to look a little longer term and they understand that guidance. So I would hope in January we could reach conclusion on whether we need and should staff up the Treasury committee that's called for in the legislation that exists, and if so, appoint 2 or 3 members and kind of bring that topic to an end. Staff the committee if that's what the council wants to do, and use that as our spokesperson going forward with Ancora. You also have asked in the past if we can update our long-term projection numbers. At our Budget and Finance Committee meeting yesterday, when we did approve the appropriation amount, which you'll be asked to approve shortly, there was some good discussion that with some of these revenue numbers firming up over the last several weeks, we should probably wait until January, firm up our budget to the revenues for 24, along with the 24 costs and expenditures. And then that would be an appropriate time to update the long-range planning numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve. Okay, next is Mayor's report. First off, Christmas Eve, don't forget, our Improvement Society is having Santa and whatnot on Christmas Eve and the carriage rides again. And I think it says 4:15 sharp. So we hope to see everybody on Christmas Eve. And as this is my last official council meeting as your mayor, I want to take this opportunity to thank all our residents for supporting me during my 20 years on council and my 8 years as mayor. I've truly enjoyed, even treasured all the time working on behalf of the residents. I've loved Gates Mills since we moved here 42 years ago. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you. Thanks so much to all our employees. I consider our police, fire, and service departments, plus our town hall ladies, Dorothy, Janet, and Jean, to be part of a finely meshed team. Our continual success over the years is indeed due to the teamwork. I will miss our constant interaction, but I have a feeling I'll be around. And Janet, the warm bond we've created will last forever. Your dedication and efforts on my behalf will not be forgotten. You mentioned you had big shoes to fill replacing Joanne. Well, you've certainly succeeded. Congrats on a job very, very well done. I've been fortunate to work with many different council people and mayors. I've learned so much from all of them and will always cherish the friendships made. Many, many thanks to each and every one of you. I'm extremely proud of all that we've accomplished. Our new mayor, Steve, is extremely qualified for this role and is excited about working with all of you as I am about my retirement. Please give Steve the support you have given me, and our village will continue to flourish. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you. Okay, next, clerk report, Beth.
Karen, we will miss you, and Stan, you get her back.
Is that none? Okay, committee reports. Anyone?
I have a couple to comment on. Just a quick update on the cell tower that's under construction at Gilmore. As with every step takes longer than expected. They had to finalize the actual lease document with Verizon, I learned today that that has apparently been finalized literally today. So that starts the wheels in motion for Verizon to then put their equipment on the tower. Probably the end of the first quarter, early second quarter would, and that's a little hard to predict, but because again, they kind of move at their own pace. So they do anticipate then T-Mobile following that, maybe late in the year as the second carrier on that tower, and they're still trying to contact AT&T. So it's the update on that tower. Our roads program, we've had a development that modifies or rearranges some of the priorities of what roads to work on next. County Line Road, as everybody I presume is aware, half of the road is Geauga County responsibility and half is Gates Mills. Hunting Valley ran into this dilemma because how the county goes about determining when to spend their money is always different. But they have finally allocated funds in 2024 to repave their half of County Line Road. We got a definitive response from them a couple of weeks ago. We talked about it at the Finance Committee yesterday. So we're committing to go forward with our half because it makes a lot of sense to do it all at once. So that'll be the primary road resurfacing for next year. We'll still have our, patching of roads where necessary, and we'll still apply to the county for the annual program where they reimburse us for materials, which is roughly a 50% savings. So it modified the numbers about 40,000 versus our previous pass at the budget. That's our best estimate of the cost of doing county line from our side. It does then, the next priority, as currently planned, as you recall, we're trying to knock off our failed roads. At this moment, we only have one road per our previous study that's in a failed state. That is Andrews Lane. And then we address poor roads. Our goal was to try to address them in 5 to 6 year period. That looks more likely to be at least a 6 year period, starting 2 years ago, 2022 and 2023, counting that, and then what we'll be doing for 2024. For example, when we do county line, portions of county line are in good condition, fair to good condition, but it doesn't make sense to have Geauga do all of one side and us do parts of one side and leave the original road that was there because it's in okay condition. So obviously that means we spend money on roads that are in better shape than addressing our poor roads. But that's the way things need to work when you're going to tackle a road. Otherwise, we're just doing patchwork. So 2025 then at this point would be Hill Creek and Andrews. 2026 would be, I guess I'm losing track at this point, but, and then there'll be 27 and 28. At the end of 2024, council will be asked to approve doing an update on that assessment of every square inch of the roads in the village, see where we stand, get a regrade, and then obviously a fresh look at prioritizing. So presumably Hill Creek will still be at the top of the scale, but that is subject to an update. So also, given the uncertainty of traffic camera revenue, where it might really sort out versus what's going to be in the budget or is in the budget, and given obviously the volatility in projecting the income tax revenue, it was only 2 months ago that Rita said, "Oh yeah, no, it's going to be $1.9 million," and now it's coming in at close to 2.3. So it's possible, and we budgeted conservatively for 2024, hopefully in both of those categories. As 24 unfolds, and perhaps, the new council will we'll want to even dip in further to some of our cash balance and be a little more aggressive on what other roads to do. Andrews probably being at the top of that list. So Chris Courtney has committed to come to council in maybe as early as January, no later than February, asking for approval to go out for bid. He will have a range of amount of square yards of pavement to do based on our sense if you were to spend more money, what would it look like? And then you have discretion in presumably the June, July period, what you want to proceed with, but you'll have a better sense of what the financial picture is looking like. So it's possible that you decide you might do a little more. Also, petroleum prices drive asphalt prices a lot, and obviously they've been coming down. So if we go out for bid in January or February, hopefully that will reflect more recent petroleum prices, and so they may even be a little bit of a break there. So it would give an ability to do some more next year. So it's a little bit fluid, but that's the picture as it looks for roads for 2024.
Thank you. Any other committee reports or questions?
I would just recap that the Budget and Finance Committee meeting met yesterday, and the purpose of the meeting was primarily to approve the amounts that are in the appropriation request, which you have. After good conversation and discussion, that was approved, and so the recommendation is for you to approve the appropriations that Chip will go through shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports?
On behalf of the Land Conservancy, thank you for those of you who attended the annual meeting. There were 45 in attendance. It was also the opportunity to select lead the executive committee for the board. There's 144 members currently. And the big issue is preparing for the renewal of the accreditation from the Land Trust Alliance. So that's going on right now. And I think the application for renewal will be submitted, I believe, early in the year, February, perhaps.
Okay.
On
Thank you.
behalf of the Improvement Society, we want you to all come on January 19th at 5:30 for the farewell to Karen Schneider. I know there've been a number of celebrations, but she's worthy of it. And this one will hold some surprises. So even if you've attended another event, we're really looking forward to you being there on Friday, January 19th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question, if I may. Who's the chairman of GMLC for next year?
It's Nat Smith and Jamie.
But he was only going to do it for a year. Has he decided to extend?
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah. So the president is Nat, vice president is Jamie Carricker. The treasurer is Nancy McGinnis as an understudy to Cindy Zins, who's been doing it for a number of years, and Diane Kennedy is the secretary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. On behalf of the Broadband Committee, we received late last week the proposal for an RF for consulting from Reconsulting for the RFP that we requested in our workshop. So you'll see that it got added because it came in just recently. On first reading, wanted everyone to have a chance to kind of take a look at it, digest it, and so it's just on first reading. And we'll, get questions or whatever anyone has once they have a chance to go through it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Ed?
The library met and things are, excellent over there, except there's great disappointment that the Cuyahoga County Library System has disallowed the use of the cookies this year. And so as an alternate, they're going to present the cookies out front and they will be bagged and marked with peanuts and things of this nature that they're worried about. But I guess it's against their laws, and there was just massive disappointment with the group because it's been such a tradition.
So there'll be cookies, they're just not in the library.
They'll be outside now, so the plan, unless the library.
And the Friends of the Library are doing that?
Yes.
Okay, Friends of the Library are doing the cookies, not the library. Got it.
Library
you.
won't allow it.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Next is police report, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Everybody should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Chief, I see that from the beginning of the road program, the traffic camera road program, from the middle of August to the end of October, you were issuing something over 650 average citations per week. In November, you issued less than 475 per week. I was wondering is that a reflection of holidays? Is it a reflection of less traffic, or is it a reflection of slowing traffic? I think we need to understand why.
I think it's probably part all of that. Just this past Wednesday, ironically enough, we had our account manager in town and went over everything with him to this point. And he says, what we're seeing right now is very similar to what he has seen in other communities who run these programs. There's a lot of variables, a lot of fluctuations in this. It could be weather related, obviously, could have somewhat of an impact, less vehicular traffic, public awareness. Individuals who are receiving, citations are fully aware of, not receiving another one maybe the next time. So once again, our account manager suggested and told us that it's going to take about 12 to 18 months to get a real baseline on the whole traffic camera program itself. So, I think the program is really doing exactly what we intended it to do. I do think speeds are coming down, and so, which is the primary goal of the program, obviously. So, I'm happy with the results thus far, and, I've gotten lots of comments, feedback from, the motoring public, residents alike, so, I'm happy with where we're at right now.
So we don't know why the number of citations has gone down specifically. We just know it has.
Yeah, it has. I mean, to me, I mean, once again, I don't know what we're ever going to know exactly. I don't think there's any just one thing. I think it's just
Thank you.
and there's some timing issues as well, too.
I kind of suspect there's a decay curve as drivers who get ticketed get smart and the
Sure.
word gets round. I wonder if GATSO or perhaps other municipalities, whether we could reach out and find out what their experience is, because it would be very helpful for budgeting and longer range financial forecasting if we had some idea what a decay curve might look like.
Absolutely.
Ed?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ed.
Is there any thought about expanding the program?
I don't think that's anything we want to discuss right now. I think we just have to take a wait and see approach to see, how this program, develops over the next, 8 to 12 months. And then, there's certainly, things that we discuss, options out there moving forward with our account manager and whatnot. So, but right now, I think it's just best that we remain in a holding pattern.
Like I say to your point, any information.
Steve.
Excuse me, any information that we get could be helpful to us. So if there's an opportunity to reach out, GATSO historically, and see what, I mean, we're 10 weeks, for 3 months, 12 weeks kind of into the program, in a 52 weeks. So it's tough to draw inferences either higher or lower, but it's, if there's some good data out there from either other communities of our size or GATSO, we'd be happy to take a look at that. We want to get the most reasonable number too. We're not looking to make it too optimistic or too pessimistic. So, thank you.
I guess I'd like to comment. Obviously, the number of citations has a bearing on the revenue, which has a bearing on budget and things like that. But the purpose of the program is to reduce speed. I keep asking, and I'd like council to be insistent that the police chief every meeting reports on the percentage of drivers that are going over 55 and going over 60, because we started out saying, oh, this is working great. That percentage has come down, but we haven't heard that number in the last 6 or 8 weeks. So it's one thing if the citations are going down, presumably the average speed is going down, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. So as bad as it would be for having counted on some money in this budget, it would be wonderful if the revenue from the traffic cameras was zero, because that would mean that everybody is going within a reasonable amount of speed limit. So I think it'd be nice to see that number for you guys every council meeting.
I think we should be asking for that as a formal matter, as part of the report. Part of the police report each week. And since we have,
David, we can't hear you.
sorry, I think it's important we have that report every month in the police chief's report. And I think it would also be helpful, like, for example, we might have seen how many citations there were in the first 2 weeks of December. We might know that number as of today,
900,
900 in
Yes.
4 weeks,
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 450. So it's the same level as November, which is lower than the preceding months. That's just all I'm saying. So I think that's a good idea, Chip.
I guess included on your sheet for next time around.
Every time.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Service Department, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. You should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
The village looks nice with lights.
Thank you. I know we've gotten a lot of compliments, and I know the guys do appreciate hearing that, because they do
Yeah, it
enjoy
looks
doing that.
beautiful.
And once again, I will pass that on to them.
Any questions for the Service Department?
I wondered if anybody else noticed Dave out there 2 days ago doing the snow dance, asking for snow, because he's trying to figure out how to use the salt. So he was so happy to have snow, so.
Salt looks like snow.
Yeah, I mean, that was
around for 10.
Well, apparently it worked because we got the snow. so
Exactly.
I know the trick, so. What we were singing earlier, so. That does conclude my report. In conclusion, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, happy and safe New Year. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Fire Department, Tom.
Good evening. I have submitted my written report. As of today's date, the fire department is at 204 calls. In your packet, you received a pictorial with the Genesis extrication tool training that we underwent to get certified by the company. We purchased the tool earlier this year. Part of the training is to actually extricate from vehicles that we can tear apart. And we also used our new rescue jacks and improved our cribbing and other extrication tools. So we're pretty well modernized. One of the things that I really like about the new system that we have is that it's not only good for auto extrication, but it's totally portable. It runs off of batteries, and it can be used in things like partial house collapse. So we can take these virtually anywhere and use them, whether it's down in an embankment, in a structure, or for auto extrication. I can entertain any questions that council may have.
Tom, remind me, when did we get this equipment?
We got it at the beginning of 2023,
Beginning of this year.
correct?
Okay. And everyone's been trained in its use?
Yes, both companies that we contracted with include a training seminar. So we had the rescue jack stabilization training, and we also had the Genesis extrication training, which is the pictorial that you have.
Good, thank you.
I see that we had one of the residents had a boiler explosion. That sounds like it could be serious.
That was at the school, at the elementary school. Yeah, it was down in the basement. thankfully, the maintenance staff was there and they shut the boiler down immediately. So there wasn't really any hazard to any of the personnel or the students. Thankfully, the way they have their system, they actually have two boilers where they have one working and one on standby. So they didn't even have to interrupt school. They just switched over to the secondary boiler and had the other one repaired.
Chief, you're using the description now of just fire alarm, which could be either smoke or could be the faulty alarm or whatever. When, for all of those, do we send the full crew? How do you decide, you know, the judgment call, or do we just automatically crank everything up assuming it's a major fire? Is there any ability to send a policeman out first to just see if it's just a false alarm or something, or do we have to crank up and bring all of our volunteers in? And obviously you wouldn't want to miscall it and find out it was a real fire, so.
Well, we really like to have the police department respond and they can give an initial size up. But in the meantime, the way our process works and works rather effectively, we begin the process of putting a pumper on the road and responding it. As we went through our insurance services project, one of the things they said that we really need to have at least 6 firemen respond on the initial engine or in the initial response. We start that initial response with everybody that we can get because again, we're paid on call fire department. And we wait to usually initiate any mutual aid until there's some kind of confirmation. The confirmation can be from somebody calling on the phone and saying, yes, I actually have a fire in my house, to a police officer arriving and saying, we see smoke or we see fire. Or when our initial engine gets there and they see that there's conditions that warrant an upgrade to the response.
Is there ever a chance to talk to the resident? You obviously get the signal that there's a fire, but is there ever an ability to be having a phone conversation for them to say, you know, it's just, you know, I overcooked my dinner and you don't need to send the brigade?
If they do call when we receive the alarm, because a lot of times these come in by a third party, we will still initially send an engine company just to confirm, you know, maybe there's smoke in the house that needs to be, we have to use our smoke ejector fans or help the resident in some way. Maybe there's damage to the stove or check the stove. So we usually continue the response until it's downscaled and we can confirm that there is no problem at the residence.
Okay.
Dispatch does a pretty good job fielding calls and whatnot also in addition.
Yes, but there's only a certain amount that they can do. If they receive an alarm from an alarm company, all they really do is pass the information along to us.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, next is ordinance 2023-38, amended third reading. Craig?
Yes, this is an ordinance amending section 137705 of the Village Building Code to revise the property maintenance code to add maintenance of trees. Just as kind of this is third reading, we adopted the property maintenance code in 2017, and we, based on some feedback from Dave Biggert, are looking to add a section in here effectively for dead, diseased, or decaying trees and limbs that may be hanging over a public right-of-way or hanging on the neighbor's property that the effectively the individual that the tree is on, it's their property. They're responsible for removing that and not the service department. So this is on third reading. We did make some changes in November to add a section on page 2 at the top that all remedial action taken pursuant to this section shall be accomplished in a manner that will minimize any substantive damage to the overall natural environment as determined by the building official. And so we do have an arborist on staff in the service department. And that was added based on some feedback from council members.
I had one question.
Yep.
This holds responsible the property owner, for making these repairs or cutting the weeds and taking down the trees, et cetera. In the instance where a utility might have an easement on that private property, who then is responsible for the making good on the violation? Would
Yeah,
that
good-
still be the property
I'll
owner
look to
or
Todd
a
on-
utility?
It would still be the property owner. Easements are a right to use property on someone else's property that they hold fee title to. And in those easements that utilities have, electric utilities, they have the right to go on the easement area and to clear trees. They don't have the obligation. And so what I envision would happen here, for example, where there is a dead or dying tree or dead limbs that may affect a utility line, an electric line, Mr. Biggert's going to go out there and he's going to see it. And so between Mr. Biggert and the property owner, they're going to say, you really shouldn't do anything if it's over top of a line because that's pretty dangerous. Call CEI and that will be taken care of. So I really don't think that we can revise this language to accommodate that situation, and I don't think we need to. So that's my best thought on that.
So the
think it's-
property owner would, again, if it's an easement, not just a line to connect to the utility, but if
Right.
it's a easement to continue a major line
On
They should
private
get-
property.
on private property, they should get in touch with.
Yeah, I think most of the
First
lines that
Energy.
we're talking about are in the public right of way.
Okay.
and there may be
Some are
private
not.
trees.
I don't know how many in the village.
Unfortunately, we have a lot that run through the backs of the property.
Okay.
So unfortunately, trees fall down and they're not aware of it until we have an outage.
Mm.
So
Okay, all right.
let
but-
CEI come and
Good question.
trim the trees, I guess is what it amounts to.
Okay, all right. So First Energy could be involved and the landowner could get in touch with them.
Certainly.
Over the years, I don't think we've had too much problem with CEI and doing the trees. They usually like to be able to trim the trees.
Yeah, they're on a 3-year cycle of the various areas, so that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, then, with this being on third reading, I'll make a motion to approve
I'll second.
ordinance 2023-38.
If I may, I did add the word noxious in line 2 of 302.4 on page 1, which was requested at the November meeting. So it reads
Okay.
from noxious weed.
Thanks, I missed that. Thanks.
Okay.
That's not in this draft that we're looking at, so it needs to be. So we need to amend this and then approve it?
The last sentence is there.
I
No, it's,
didn't go out to.
yeah, all noxious, it's a second to it's the last sentence, second to last line. All noxious weeds are prohibited. That's what was bottom of page 1.
I actually added in line 2 before the word weeds. That's what I was asked to do. In November.
I'm sorry, where does it go, Todd? Thank you. Must be missing. Okay.
I got the copy Friday night and I don't see the word noxious,
No,
so that's,
Didn't have-
I don't have an issue with it, but do we want to make sure that we're approving
The only change is that the word noxious is before weeds in line 2.
under 302.4?
Correct.
So is that technically, okay. whatever.
What's opposite of a noxious weed? A friendly weed or a sociable? I mean, I don't know what we're talking about. Noxious weeds, I think, is a defined term,
It is,
but weeds isn't.
No.
Okay,
So-
noxious weeds and tall grasses, it is.
You made the motion to approve. Who seconded?
Welsh.
I did.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2023-47. This, 46, sorry.
46.
A resolution requesting the county auditor to advance taxes from the proceeds of the tax levies pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code 321.34.
So.
Oh, this is,
Yeah,
sorry.
this is me. That's all right. So obviously this is, required if we want to actually get them to send us the money. So I don't think we need a lot of discussion. I guess
Right.
my question is, do we need to suspend the rules?
Yes.
Okay. So the first, does anybody have any questions about this? Because if not, I move to suspend the rules.
Anton.
Yes.
Allward.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
And now I move to approve Resolution 2023-46.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward.
Yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, now Resolution 2023-47. A resolution authorizing a contract with Weichert Insurance Services, Inc. to furnish and provide liability and property insurance coverages for the Village of Gates Mills, its officials, employees, and declaring an emergency. It was in your packet. It's interesting, if we had two bids on it, and the bid that we want to accept is from Selective Insurance, which actually gives us better coverage at a lower rate and lower deductibles. Very interesting.
I'll move to approve.
Well, we have to suspend.
I'll move to suspend.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2023-48. Chip?
This is an ordinance to amend the annual appropriation ordinance of number 2022-42 to increase certain appropriations and other expenditures of the Village of Gates Mills, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2023. This again is, as we're nearing the end of the year, that Janet needs this because of the appropriations that were approved about a year ago right now, where we changed that policy a couple of years ago to make our appropriations exactly what we're budgeting. And so in this case, we've now need a little bit more than what we budgeted when we went into the year. I think that's the right explanation, Janet.
Yep.
So, and I believe we would need to suspend the rules because last I looked, it's December 19th, so she needs to do this in the next, 10
Correct.
days. So I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
And now I move to approve ordinance 2023-48.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2023-49. Chip?
And Chip, I have one typographical error on this one. The transfer amount that you see, the 1,095,500 should be 1,096,500. It does not change the total general fund number. It was just a typo.
Okay. All right, so this ordinance, this is an ordinance providing appropriations for expenditures for the Village of Gates Mills for fiscal year ending December 31, 2024. repealing certain ordinances, and declaring an emergency. So this is based on the budget process that's unfolded over what, Steve, the last 6 or 8 weeks? Yeah, 3 meetings of the Finance Committee, and including last night. So this level of expenditures was approved by the Finance Committee last night. Again, this is necessary to start the year so that we can start to pay bills in 2024. As we talked about in the Finance Committee, we will look at the overall budget now that once the end of the year is done with 2024, with what the revenue assumptions are, what the expenditures, and could always modify this at any point next year, but this is where we think we are and what we think is the appropriate level for next year. And I believe we need to suspend the rules on this one.
Yes.
So I move to suspend the rules on 2023-49.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Russ, Steinberg.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Now I move to approve 2023-49.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Russ, Steinberg.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2023-50.
So
Chip.
this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Akron Tractor and Equipment, Inc. for the purchase of a new tractor with a boom mower attachment and declaring an emergency. Now, the reason we're bringing this up now in 2023, this expenditure, which will actually take place in 2024, but we're asking for authorization and commitment now. And so it's in the budget for 2024. The expenditure will take place then. But the Akron Tractor and Equipment indicated that what we're looking for is about to undergo a substantial price increase in January of 2024. And if we could give the Akron Tractor and Equipment our commitment now, he will honor the price, and we will then take delivery at some point in early 2024. So we needed to move this up. And I believe therefore we also need to suspend the rules.
Yes.
So if there's any questions, but this was brought up in the whole budget process. This is a very old piece of equipment that this replaces, and necessary for the nature of our terrain. So I move to suspend the rules on 2023-50.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Russ, Steinberg.
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
And now I move to approve 2023-50.
Second.
Anton,
Yes.
Allward,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Russ, Steinberg.
Yes.
Turner,
yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
You know, I do reflect a little bit on this. I've kept track at points in time over the years, but if you took all of our major assets, particularly think of the service department, that starts with all of our plow trucks, but it gets to things like this kind of tractor. The list is, 30 items long, maybe. I don't know. We don't need to get down to rakes and shovels, but, and obviously we have our fire trucks and our police cars, but I think it would be helpful for council to see a schedule that just lists out all of our lists of equipment. What is the age? When was it purchased? Usage is tricky because an example of this tractor isn't the number of miles driven, it's the number of hours that it's used. Obviously, police cars, it's the number of miles driven, but we do a pretty good job, if not a great job, of trying to have our equipment go as long as possible. And yet, every year you hear us approving a new this and a new that. But in this case, I don't know, Dave, what's the age of the equipment we're replacing here? 33 years old. So, I think it's helpful if you guys always saw that schedule. Plus, we know what to anticipate in future years that, we're not just trading things in after 3 years because it's nice to have a new one. We're obviously trying to use it. So anyways, just a suggestion for you.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2023-51. Chip?
This is a resolution authorizing and directing the transfer of certain sums from the general fund to the capital improvement fund. And again, this is based on the original appropriation and what we now need to finish up the year. So I think we need to move to suspend the rules on this one.
Yes.
Second.
Eton,
Yes.
Allworder.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
And before I move, I'll try to liven the meeting up a little bit. Your dog is falling asleep over here, Michael, so I'm boring him. I'm sorry with this.
That's a boring agenda.
Yes, exactly. So I'll come up with something juicy here on this next one, but at any rate, move to approve 2023-51.
Second.
Eton,
Yes.
Allworder.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press, Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2023-52. Craig?
Yeah, by the way, let me correct. I think that Akron tractor, the new tractor is going to be bright red and it's going to have a shiny surface. Maybe that got the dog excited there. I would hope so. Anyways, sorry.
Straighten it out.
Sorry, Craig.
No, that's
Right.
okay. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a subscription renewal agreement with Flock Safety for the village's license plate reading equipment for a term of 60 months, 5 years, and declaring an emergency. So the village has got 5 of these Flock cameras throughout the village. And this is a 5-year renewal with no price increases over what we are currently paying now. So I would move to suspend the rules so we can get this contract signed.
Second.
Eton,
Yes.
Allworder.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
Now move to approve resolution 2023-52.
Eton,
Yes.
Allworder.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 2023-53.
Well, now, actually, this is exciting news, so hopefully he will wake up. For those that have followed proceedings over the last year, well, if not the last 10 years, we've always had this issue of drainage on Mayfield Road culvert. Apparently, many, many years ago, they repaired the culvert and did a brilliant job of taking a certain diameter pipe underneath Mayfield Road to allow drainage, and to repair it, simply put in a much smaller pipe. And it worked just fine, except that the pipe was too small. So now we get flooding and have for years under a major storm. So we've been hoping to get proper reimbursement for this or coverage. We then, with some of the federal funds coming down, did receive and can use it for this purpose. As you may recall, this over the course of this summer, we went out for bids. When you go for a bid like that, the engineer, Chris Courtney, comes up with what he thinks is a reasonable estimate. And all the bids came in more than 10% above, in fact, substantially above, over 500,000. So we could have overridden the state regulation that you can't accept a bid if it comes in over 10% over your estimate. But Chris felt that we could go back to the drawing board, maybe give them a little more latitude of timing, et cetera. So we went back out for bid, and lo and behold, we got a bid not at 500,000, but at 300,000. And this is a reputable firm. They're going to actually want to do the work in the cold weather, so they're fitting it in with their winter crew, which gives them a break. So this is a substantial break compared to where we were 6 months ago. And I see your dog got excited, so we're in good shape.
And
So-
I want to add to that, this goes back to Sally Broom wanting to replace this culvert when Gary was service director and we never had the money for it.
Wow. Wow.
That's how long ago this goes, and they downsized it before that in the 80s, so it's a long time coming.
And again, this gets funded from the, some of the ARPA funds that you read about in the paper, so. So I move to suspend the rules here because we want to enter into this contract.
Second.
Eton,
Yes.
Allworder.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
And now I move to approve 2023-53.
Question first, please. The document doesn't refer anywhere to this being funded by the ARPA funds. And it's going to be funded by portions of the village's initial ARPA funds as well as the money that came through the county. So I don't know the right documentation, Todd, but we do need to, because the ARPA funds require council to approve the use of those funds, at least the village's portion does. I don't know that we have all the right language here unless it's covered somewhere else.
It's always a separate one.
It's a,
It'll be a separate piece of legislation
what will be?
to say that the project will be paid for with the ARPA funds. It wouldn't, we had to approve this first, so we don't have it on there tonight.
All right, so there'll be a follow-up documentation.
Right, in January.
I would ask Todd to do that.
Okay, that'd be the first thing up on my agenda then.
You're off to the races. All right.
Chip, I got a question. I don't know if Chris can, I mean, do we have a ballpark on timeline of when this work will start and finish?
I did it right. Their contract completion timeline is they indicated they would start within 10 days of signing the contract, complete the work within 60 days. I would anticipate with the availability of material, this is going to be a 42-inch steel pipe that's going to go underneath Mayfield Road, about 300 feet long. It'll probably take them about 30 days to get that pipe. So I would anticipate a start sometime near the end of January.
Okay, and then they'll close down one side of Mayfield and the other to do that for
We'll
traffic?
be working from the downstream side, which is the north side, to the upstream side, which is the south side behind the wastewater treatment plant. We'll be boring underneath the road because the culvert's almost 30 feet deep. And they'll be digging a hole in the median near the intersection to go down and make sure the pipe is in the right location at that point and put a manhole in. So there will be one interior lane closed in each direction
Okay,
while they do that work. So the outside lanes will remain in operation at all times during the construction.
okay, thanks.
Sure.
Good question.
Okay, we still need a second.
I have a question.
Oh,
When I had my hip surgery 2 years ago, I didn't go with the lowest bidder. I went with the one I thought would do the best job. And I see this range of cost estimates is enormous. What's the difference? Is it a misunderstanding of the definition of the project or the technology and or the materials to be used? I mean, why so different?
Not at all. We have reached a perfect storm with when we bid this project, where we've got a contractor who is a longtime reputable quality contractor in Cleveland. I've worked with them on many jobs, that very likely has a crew that they don't want to lay off for the winter. They've got their own equipment in-house, and they've got the ability to perform the work and keep critical people employed over the winter instead of laying them off and then potentially having them go to work for somebody else next year. If you look at the bids and the line items that were bid, the primary difference in pricing is the line item that we have for the actual boring and installation of the 42-inch pipe. Fabrizi's bid per foot for that pipe is about $720 per foot, as compared to the other contractors, which are almost twice that. And if you do that math, 700 times 300, that's about $200,000 right there. So the major difference is this contractor who at times, we even talked about this yesterday. I've been involved on many bid openings with this contractor where the contractors go, how on earth can they price this job like that? They can't be making any money. And they do it occasionally for the right reasons. And I've never had a problem with them performing.
and they have worked in the village previously.
They have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good.
Well, we'll have to pay attention to see how this impacts the speed citations for
It'd be
February.
interesting to see it actually
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
So,
It's a
at least
big
on,
pipe.
at least on one side, from east to west. Because it sounds like it won't impact it. The camera's going west to east, but we'll see.
So where are we?
We need a second.
I wanna make
Second.
Can I make a comment?
Michael, I
No,
think you made a
I
second.
did.
Okay.
Another consequence of this low bid is that we won't need conservation levy funds to fund it.
That is correct.
So did we approve the suspend the rules?
We approved the suspend,
So
now
now-
we need to approve.
Okay, and I have already moved then to approve, and we have a
I
second.
seconded.
And you,
So now we're ready to,
here we go. Anton,
Yes.
Allworder.
yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
Press.
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Yay. Thank you. Next is Resolution 2023-54. Lori, this is first reading.
Right, thanks, Karen. So as I said in the committee report, after our workshop, we had asked Reed Consulting to take a look at a detailed proposal to support an RFP for the broadband project. So that came in last week. And I wanted to get it in front of you on first reading so that you could take a look at it, digest, ask questions. So that's really where we are right now.
So Lori, I do have a question because
Sure.
obviously at that really wonderful meeting, whatever, a month ago, near the end, our conclusion or a possible next step, I think it is the next step, was to, once it's available, learn as much as possible about what Hunting Valley's doing. If and the firm that our consultant feels is reputable. And if it looks like that would work for us and the consultant feels that that's probably a pretty good deal. I mean, it wouldn't be that we wouldn't negotiate our own deal, but that we wouldn't necessarily do a full-blown RFQ or RFP. We may see if we could come up with an agreement and also talk with Hunting Valley about what else they did, so we don't just spend a whole lot of money to simply repeat all of the steps. So even though this is a full-blown, it still is basically an hourly approach. Right.
Right, and thanks for bringing that up because I think one of the reasons why we need to move forward with this is because Hunting Valley still hasn't taken any action. They're still negotiating. They weren't able to share any details with us yet. And we really don't know when, that might change. So we wanted to go ahead and move forward with looking at an RFP. And Todd, maybe you can help us with the RFP requirements, but I do feel that the project is far-reaching, complex enough, impactful enough that we should consider very seriously going to RFP. It's not like it's a small, simple project.
I must say, I'm with Chip on this one. We may learn something when Hunting Valley is prepared to talk to us. I think that'll be within the next 30 days. We may well learn something that will alter our approach. So I think it's foolhardy to go ahead with Reed right now when another 30 days will be smarter than we are today.
Well, this is first reading, right? So we still have some time, but we don't know and they can't promise when they're going to be able to talk to us. And if and when they do, Michael, then I think we can, have those discussions. We can talk with the party that they're contracting with, but right now it's hands off.
What if, hypothetically, what if after we talk to Hunting Valley, we want a different consultant than Reed? Then what?
Then you don't
Pull
do
it.
it.
This is
Pull
on
it.
first reading.
It's first reading.
Yeah, it's,
This
No
will
vote.
go into
Yeah,
February with third reading, so.
we have, we're trying to just move forward and not get delayed by.
And you could
waiting
move it to March for that
for
standpoint.
So
You don't need-
you're saying, Laura, you want to approve it, or
no,
you
first
want
reading.
first reading to occur, but you don't have any intention of spending anything at this stage of the game.
No, we're not spending anything at this stage of the game.
So it's just buying us time in the queue. We're getting something that's on the critical path going. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're getting the critical path going because, you all need to look at it. You need to ask questions rather than delay and wait for who knows what'll happen in Hunting Valley. We should keep going. There is a window and Reed advised us of that. I think they were pretty adamant about that there is a window to get this done. So we need to keep pressing on and make sure that we're prepared to go forward if.
One thing that troubles me is Reed told us twice that they didn't understand how the Hunting Valley proposal could possibly make economic sense. I'd like to know the answer to that question before I hire a consultant.
Well, I'm not sure that we're able to do that without getting into their negotiations. I mean, we're.
Agreed, but
So-
I think it'll be done within, last we talked, which is a month ago, they said it'd be done and approved in either December or at the latest January.
I didn't get the
Anderson-
latest part, but I know that they've been looking at this for a long time. That's my concern. And if, we can move our ball forward some, I think it's really helpful. And then we're ready to go once, if and when we get information. So I think delaying doesn't make any sense. We got to keep moving.
It's.
I was just gonna say, excuse me, I was gonna say, Ann's not here, but how many, I mean, Ann's here. Ann is here. You've been working on this for how long? 2.5 years? At this point, and conversations with Hunting Valley have been going on for 2.5 years or more. Okay. Thank you.
So one thought is, given that, we can't even give you the timetable of getting Verizon on the cell tower, and the cell tower is already physically in place. So I mean, it could take a little while longer. So, at any point, we could use these guys to work on getting a quote from Ohio Gig. And at least begin to understand what that parameter is. We don't, necessarily have to do the whole process. So it would seem to me if you're going another 30 days and still sitting here in Hunting Valley saying, oh gosh, we're getting closer. Because I left that meeting 6 weeks ago thinking, oh, great, that we can get the document here in another week or two. And now here it is 6 weeks later and they don't have a document. Now maybe they will shortly, but, and whatever, that's the nature of these things. So, I wouldn't wait too long, but clearly Ohio Gig, given how serious Hunting Valley is, sounds like it's a very, potential. And as our consultant said, there's something there that he's missing. And so we might want to start our own initiative here with Ohio Gig and start getting our consultant and them together and spend a little bit of money and start moving that ball forward.
We can.
And
we can
in the
certainly-
meantime, at some point, you will get the details of what their program is. I'm not sure that we need to be sequential here. You could start Ohio Gig next month.
We could. We
Again, it's first reading. You're not even.
First reading,
Yeah.
and I know.
I'm just suggesting for council purposes that, it's easy to say, oh, well, we'll just wait for another reading and we'll wait for,
Waiting
for
for-
Hunting Valley, but you could start this more active.
Yeah.
I know Ann would love to start this, ball rolling faster and faster. So, I think you guys ought to debate why you're waiting and why not with Reed get into discussions with Ohio Gig sooner. So just a thought.
My informal conversations with AT&T, they are in the process of wiring the village. And I don't think this has been verified yet. And, my level of contact are much lower down the line than I guess that we would do as a village, but it's in process. So why are we doing all this is what I don't understand until we find out if they're going to do it, because the consultant recommended fiber and that's what they're putting in.
That's not, Ann's shaking her head and she's the one who's talked to AT&T. So I might ask her to add shed some light on that for you, Ed.
No, I've talked to Ann about this, but they're just informally going ahead with it. So they already have, we're already wired for AT&T in the village. So this is just another wire. But
Okay.
Somebody should talk to them, or I'll be glad to.
We can certainly do that, but I think one of our preferences was not for wires.
Yeah, unless we're going to pick another technology, it's in process. So I don't know what, I don't have
I
this.
think we'll have to verify that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I'll trust but verify, right? I'll take the action to.
Okay.
I'll connect with you.
I,
Thank you.
I just want to remind people too that, through the comprehensive plan, connectivity, broadband, I mean, was really high among all of the priorities for the comprehensive plan. And I see us kind of struggling with, with moving forward. And I keep thinking about what the consultant said too about this window of opportunity before 2024 closes. And I hate to see us lose that window. AT&T we talked about before, Ed, is, looking at areas in the village that are densely populated. So, some of our residents are going to get left behind. And I don't think any of us want to see that happen.
I have them both, had, for quite a while now, and it runs great. I mean, everything's wonderful about it.
No, it is.
But I think they have a mission to just finish it up in the village, so.
Well, we'll certainly check on that. Thank you. Thanks for that, Ed. And I know it's a real selling point for a home to have that kind of connectivity. So, and then Todd, we asked you a question a while ago about, and maybe it's something to revisit because I know it's getting late, but just really to understand the RFP requirements and.
Yeah, I think what we'll have to do is to look at the design build statutes in the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay.
I've done quite a bit of design build, but it's been for buildings, for municipalities. But I think that's what we'll model it after, and we'll need to obviously discuss it with a consultant. But what I've also done is tweak that process through a council ordinance so that it really meets our needs. And so that's what we're probably going to have to do. It starts with an RFQ, request for qualifications. And I think the most important thing is the specifications for Gates Mills, which may be somewhat different than Hunting Valley. I don't know. So that's the key. And the first step that's in this proposal.
Steve?
I would just add, I was impressed by the Reed consultant presentations that we had a month ago. I thought both those gentlemen knew the area very well and were true experts in an area that we don't have any personal expertise in. If there ever is a need for an area of consulting, it's something like what they could bring to us, whether it's an RFP or answering these various questions that people come up with. This is a little different than what most of us are accustomed to addressing. I was also reminded that time is important here. It's not maybe of the essence, but time is important. And we've been working on this for a while, and it'd be nice to have somebody like Reed on our side signed up so we could use them for questions, whether they're specific questions or Hunting Valley type questions. I was also recall that we were not a very attractive location because of the lack of density, and that we would be needing to likely look at needing to induce players to come and install this in the village. That may not be something council wants to do down the road. And if that's the case and we decide to forego further broadband conversations, it'd be nice to have the expertise behind that in a report that we could share with our citizens that says we looked at this for a number of years. We would like to do it, but it's just not financially, economically feasible, or it is. We're at a point here, though, with a potentially large expenditure that none of us at this table here have the expertise to handle alone. And I would like to have Reed alongside of us, whether we want to spend this kind of money right now and do the entire RFP, or we want to engage them for periodic questions and such. I'd like to do that. I also think that if Hunting Valley does come through, and it comes through quickly and they're open and we can look at that, it's something we could give them to evaluate rather than us evaluating it. So I would be in favor of the first reading, and I'd be in favor of going forward in some capacity with Reed to assist the village in this endeavor.
Thank you. Okay, next is council matters. Anybody have anything else?
Doing the first reading now.
Well, it is first reading. There's no vote or anything. Thank you. Next is business from the audience. Thank you. We adjourn.
I had
Need
two
a
items.
motion to adjourn.
I just wanted to follow on what I said earlier today. We will bring to council next meeting conversations on resurfacing the tennis courts into 4 pickleball courts, as well as a discussion on building 4 pickleball courts sometime this year. The repairs have been long evidenced. We have gotten competitive bids. This has been working on for several months. The demand is documented. The number of people looking to use those courts is well documented. I don't have any of that to share with you today. That wasn't the purpose, but I will be bringing forth some documentation to you in a package over the next month that asks for your approval for us to engage to repair, resurface, repaint the existing courts. We're also hopeful to bring forth a conversation on building 4 new football courts. We have worked on possible costs for that. We have a lead donor that's identified, a villager that would identify themselves to start that funding with naming rights on the facility. So we've made some activity there. I share this only so that as we try to be a little more open with what's going on behind the scenes, you're somewhat informed as opposed to just hearing things at the coffee shop. Secondly, I've had a couple conversations with the leadership of the Gates Mills Land Conservancy with Nat, and a meeting the other day with him. I'd like to have the village and the conservancy essentially be on a roughly the same page in terms of where we're both going with the money that we've been given by our taxpayers. We're 2 years into a 5-year levy, and I think there's still they've got a plan and we've got a plan, or maybe we don't have a plan. And I would like there to be a joint plan that would look at the various things that the Conservancy wants to do as well as things that the village would like to do. That would include the tree canopy. It could include land acquisition, include stormwater. It could include education courses. There's a lot to be done in the area, and I'd like it to be, if we can, a combined plan. Nat's also offered to come in January if we're ready for that, or to give his annual report, his semi-annual report, or he can come in March. So I need to let him know what day we'd like him to come to council and present the second half of 2023. So nothing further on that other than FYIs to all of you to expect those 2 items in January.
I would just like to acknowledge that this is Chip's last council meeting, and to extend our appreciation for all the work that you've done and contributed to this village, to the council, to our department heads, to our staff. You've just been a complete asset to the community, and I will miss serving with you, but look forward to having you remain engaged in village matters. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. I don't like spotlights, so, and I debated, but I'm not going to give a speech. I'm not going to comment on things. I do want to thank those that I worked so closely with, starting with the mayor. I will miss our 2 or 3 times a day calls on brainstorming on this or dealing with this or with that. I think we have an outstanding staff. In my 8 years, it's interesting to try to put your finger on exactly what defines the culture of our village. I think some of you have heard the story. One of my things I did during my years on council was to be the representative of a task force working with the dispatch center. And in the dispatch meeting, we were debating, the length of a call that comes in, and contrasting when a call comes in from Euclid, it can be a very serious call. The dispatcher has to be on the line for 30 minutes. And, we were kind of going through all of what the dispatcher has to go through. And the head of the dispatch operation said, yeah, and this is in contrast to a call from Gates Mills, where our dispatcher picks up the phone and the person on the other end says, can you send the boys over to my house? I need to have my furniture moved. And I said, wait, can you repeat that? And he said, oh yeah, no, that's a verbatim call. I can have you listen to the tape. No, send the boys over. I need you to help me with this. And I said, you get a lot of calls like that? He said, oh yeah, that's the typical call in the village. That's the nature of our crew here. And that's of course the police. In that case, it would be the service department. That's just defines the ambiance is what our team do. They are dedicated. They are responsive for every tree. I find them they stick to their budgets. So that's the heart and soul of this village. And the inner workings of council have been an interesting chapter. But I'm very, very pleased with Steve moving forward. I think he's going to do a great job, and I think the village will be in good hands. So thank you.
Now we need a motion to adjourn.
Chip, why don't you do it? Motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Anton. Yes. Allworder.
Yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
Press. Steinberg.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Welsh.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday and a happy new year.